Coming up next on the CHGO Cubs podcast presented by Toyota and Bet365, the Cubs deliver a dud in Detroit. It's a series loss, and we're going to talk about that garbage umpire. We got a lot of problems with this guy, and he's going to hear about it. CHGO Cubs next. Hey, Chicago, what do you say? This is the CHGO Cubs podcast driven by Toyota. Let's go places and Bet365. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary. Use the code CHGO365 at sign up. Luke Stuckmeyer here with Cody Del Mendo and Kevin Wells. Sarah running the ones and twos. Series over in Detroit, a possible World Series preview, possibly. Cubs lose 2 out of 3. This one 4-0 on Sunday. We did the watch-along here on the CHGO Cubs YouTube channel, which, by the way, if you haven't yet, make sure you subscribe to that. Tell a friend, tell a neighbor, tell a total stranger, and also hit the like button. Thank you. We appreciate that. Hi to everybody in that live YouTube chat. A lot of people jumping over from the watch-along to the post-game show. We appreciate you. If you're listening in podcast form, we appreciate the positive reviews there as well. We're going to recap the whole series in just a little bit. Cubs and Tigers. It was a fun series overall. We'll look ahead to the series coming up with the Phillies and what's ahead this week, Phillies and Pirates. But I think we have to start this talking about Mr. Derek Thomas, the home plate umpire in Detroit, who sucked rotten eggs today, Cody.
That's a nice way to say it, Luke Stuckmeyer.
Thank you.
Because he stunk. Honestly, the umpires all weekend stunk, specifically yesterday and today. Shall we start with the inning where it came down to the decision in New York?
We shall.
Shall we start with that? Okay.
Yeah, we shall.
So if you go back to the 4th inning today, Ian Happ and Kyle Tucker walked to lead off the inning, right? And then Seiya Suzuki struck out. Not because of the umpire. I honestly think that was just...
Seiya had 3 of those.
It was just bad. Seiya Suzuki had a bad day, so whatever. You got 2 on with 1 out, and PCA coming to plate. Hits a single, and Quintin Berry decides to send Ian Happ home from second with 1 out. So before I dive into the actual play at home plate, how do we feel about Quintin Berry sending Ian Happ home with less than 2 outs?
I'm okay with that. Are you, Kevin? I'm okay with that send. I'm not excited about the one on Friday, which was a big mistake.
Yeah, I mean.
But this one was okay.
Yeah, the one on Friday might have cost you the game, let's be honest. It was a huge momentum shift. But the one today is fine. I mean, it was a very, like I said it on the watch-along, it was a very aggressive send, a very aggressive send. But sometimes you got to be aggressive to beat the best team in baseball, team who is, you're not going to score a lot of runs against. A starting pitcher who's had a great year in Jack Flaherty, who obviously had your number today. We'll dive into that in a bit here. So I don't hate the send. I just said it was uber aggressive. That's not me criticizing the send. It's just, oh, okay, you're going to send him here? That's really ballsy. Okay.
And I generally agree. I was surprised that they sent him because there were less than 2 outs. But all things considered, before the 4th inning, it's not like the Cubs offense was riling off a ton of hits, right? And so maybe being like I was okay with being aggressive there. So we got that out of the way. Ends up being a play at home plate, and umpire calls him out. The Cubs challenge, and I don't really care what anyone says. New York got it wrong, dude. New York got it wrong. And it's frustrating because MLB implemented, and I feel like this is a broken record at this point, MLB implemented these instant replay things for a reason, and that's to get calls right. And they got that call wrong.
Twice.
And I think they said that the call stands. So in their eyes, they're saying that there wasn't enough evidence. I think there's plenty of evidence showing that the guy missed the tag and Ian Happ got his hand in there. That's what I think.
The only thing that, they said stands. So it wasn't confirmed. So that means, there wasn't enough evidence to overturn the call on the field. But I think the only thing that maybe they saw that we didn't, and I think he was safe. Let me preface by saying I think he was safe. The only thing that could have happened is during the slide when Happ threw his hand under, is if one of the shoestrings of the glove just like grazed the top of his wrist.
But there's no way you're going to see that on replay.
And that is why
zero chance.
And that is probably why they said the call stands. Yeah. I think there is enough evidence there that shows that he got the hand in without it even definitively touching him. We
got to find a way. The moral of the story is here, there has to be a better way and more camera angles to get these calls right. Yeah. You have a replay system in place. You spent a lot of money on it. You voted it in. You're going to do this with the ABS system next year. Mm-hmm. There has to be a better way to do this because to us, on the broadcast that we saw, on the clear angle that we saw, you can't see the plate because the camera angle is plate level, so you can only see the hand, but you clearly see the glove go over the wrist as the hand touches the plate.
Between the two arms, basically.
So how do we change this? How do we get this right? And I know the Cubs are not the only team complaining about this. Every team probably has had a couple calls that you're just like, how the hell was that not overturned? Right. How?
Yeah.
How?
And
I mean, he was safe, man. I'm sorry. He was safe.
Well, and it ends up because of a decision by New York, in my opinion, then of course Carson Kelly walks after that. But you have 2 outs, and Michael Busch comes up and, of course, hits one of the hardest hit balls by the Cubs today, right into a glove. I feel like I was watching Friday's game all over again. So you don't score there. You should have been able to at least get 1 run in. And if Michael Busch's ball is caught and there's less than 2 outs, then I'm pretty sure Tucker probably is tagging up, and it's a tie ball game at the end of the 4th inning. So because of a decision by New York, the Cubs don't score any runs. And I'm not here to try to change. If you thought that he was out, whatever, you feel like it's easier to just be mad at Quintin Berry, fine. Everyone will always point out the flaws of the third base coach or the first base coach when something doesn't go right. Overall, I think Quintin Berry's been a lot better of a base running coach at third base than what they had over there in Willie Harris last year. The Cubs have been one of the better base running teams in baseball all season. Of course, when there is a play like on Friday or like this play today, people will magnify that, especially in a close game like this, right? So whatever, that is what it is. The bigger issue I have with the umpire today is when Nico Hoerner was ejected.
But wait, I think they're connected.
Okay.
That's my problem. I think one can lead to the other. I think a home plate umpire on a call like that, when he knows in his head, I might have missed that. A, he's embarrassed. B, he doesn't like. No umpire likes, give me the headset. No. They don't like it. Mm-hmm. They don't want it in the first place. A lot of these umpires have huge egos and don't want the replay system. So when it gets reviewed and they're waiting and he's sitting there waiting, and then the Cubs are barking from the dugout, even after that, like, how did you guys miss that? He missed the tag. Now this guy's on edge, and he's mad, and he's been shown up in his eyes. Mm-hmm. Then he goes and he gives this nonsense with Nico. Continue. But I think one could be connected to the other.
I don't necessarily disagree with you there. I mean, that's one way to think of it. And
it's let me just say it's possible. Very possible.
Right. But anyway, it was a 2-2 count, I believe, and a ball on the inside, lower inside, way off the plate. Didn't even catch the corner. And it's called a strike, called strike 3. Now, if he calls it a ball, it's 3-2, I believe. And so we don't know how it plays out. But Dansby Swanson led off the inning with a double, and he was up next. And so all I know is that Nico Hoerner has a K rate well below 10%. He has like a 7% K rate this year. More often than not, this guy's putting the ball in play. Instead, he strikes out because the umpire absolutely atrocious call. And it piles on to what happened yesterday. Even though the Cubs won yesterday because they hit like 5 homers, the umpire yesterday was terrible.
Doug
Eddings. Meet me outside in the parking lot, brother, because I got some words for you, man.
He wants to have some speaks.
it piled on from yesterday, and all I'm saying is he dictated, this guy Derek Thomas dictated the inning after he rung up Nico Hoerner, and then the way he reacted after Hoerner didn't even yell at him, just probably said that's not a strike or something like that. And based off what you're saying, perhaps his ego was a little bothered and led to a quick hook. It was so bad that Craig Counsell actually got ejected today.
I don't even know if this is real, but Michael Bowling on social media claims he's his college teammate and he never liked the Cubs. Then he's like, "Oh, bad joke. Never mind. It was just a bad call and a bad ejection."
Yeah, I don't know about him. Right.
Probably a joke he shouldn't have made. However, now it adds to my conspiracy.
I got bad jokes too.
Listen, the Cubs didn't lose the series because of the umpire today.
Yeah, I was just going to say, Cody.
They didn't, but the stuff piles on top of each other, and it doesn't make it easier.
Yeah, I'm not sitting here saying the Cubs lost today because of the umpire.
The umpire still sucked.
I am saying that the umpire sucked, and they did dictate the game. Should the Cubs offense have scored runs later in the game? They had 2 guys on later in the game. I think it was Kelly and I think Kelly and Swanson got on, and then they didn't do anything in that inning too.
They had 2 on and no out.
Whatever happened. There were multiple innings where they had guys on base, and then the Cubs didn't get them in. So I'm not saying the umpires are why the Cubs lost, but in those 2 innings, New York and then the home plate umpire dictated how this game went. And to flip it, and for me to put some criticism on the Cubs, Craig Counsell gets ejected, and many people in our chat for the last year have complained about him not getting thrown out of games. And people have this idea that whenever that happens, it fires the team up. It didn't happen today, dude. No. It didn't happen today. Not with this offense.
We got Vidal Brujan, and the game was over.
So my frustration is more about just in general in baseball that these umpires suck, and I cannot wait for ABS next year. And MLB needs to get the instant replay system fixed.
They got to figure this out.
It's a joke.
They have to figure that out.
It's an absolute joke. So
you said that the umpire dictated the inning. That is where I want to transition. That inning had the chance to tie the game, build the momentum, move things along against a hot pitcher who's comes into the game 3 quality starts in a row. Flaherty now with 4 quality starts in a row. He's been pitching out of his mind. He's been really good. So that inning was the opportunity to break the ice and move forward. But the Cubs lost this game today because they had 3 times the amount of strikeouts than hits.
Yeah.
They had 12 strikeouts and 4 hits today. Everybody in their starting 9 struck out today.
Yeah.
You don't win a lot of games doing that. Yeah. So that's the reason you lost.
And when Nico goes down and strikes, is Matt Shaw comes out, and again, with a guy on second base, still only 1 out, strikes out. Matt Shaw's been awesome. He's been great, and I'm not really trying to criticize him. But in that inning alone, you still had an opportunity to at least maybe manufacture a run, and he couldn't even put the ball in play to move the guy over to third base.
There's too many ugly strikeouts today.
Yeah.
The thing that bothers me with the Nico ejection, it's his 2nd career ejection, and it looked like he turned around and said 1 or 2 words to the guy and immediately was hooked. They hooked him right out. I mean, and that I have a problem with that, because now not only are you changing the impact of the inning, but you're changing the game by taking a contact bat out of the lineup. So,
and a guy who's not known for getting ejected.
Somebody in the chat said the umpire made the game about him, and I would agree with that a little bit. Did you notice some of the punch-out calls after that? Emphatic punch-out calls after that.
Yeah, and you called that on the watch-along, right? I mean, he clearly had a bruised ego. Very clearly. The Cubs were yelling at the umpires all weekend long from the dugout. We heard it, caught on Apple TV. The microphones behind home plate picked up Eddings yelling back at Counsell, "I will be better, but I'm not going to take that from you. I will be better." He wasn't better. He didn't get better. He did not get better. But you know what? I'm glad. I'm most of the time I'm not going to meatball out about Counsell not getting kicked out of games, because I think that's a fallacy in sports. It's going to fire up a team. That's not Counsell's style, and I'm cool with Counsell's style. If he wants to not, I'm glad he got booted today. I'm glad he went right in there and goes, what do you mean you're kicking my guy out after saying 3 words to you? Grow up.
Yeah.
He literally goes, what are you talking about? It's the 4th or 5th inning.
At first,
Come on, man.
At first, I didn't think Counsell was going to get ejected because he was out there for a little bit. And then eventually the umpire threw him out. And so it wasn't even like an automatic throwing of Counsell out when he runs out there. Like you felt like it was going to happen. So,
all right, we'll talk more about the series and about Flaherty and more next. But first, a word from our sponsors. Hey, baseball fans, if you're thinking about upgrading your drive this season, Toyota's 2025 lineup is definitely worth a look. There's the RAV4. It's versatile, reliable, and always ready for a little adventure. The Grand Highlander, plenty of room, super comfortable, and great for families. Looking for efficiency? The Corolla's got you covered. Smart, stylish, and easy on gas. Need something bigger? Then there's the Tacoma, bringing serious durability. And finally, the Camry, sleek and packed with performance. Summer starts here. From adventures to weekend escapes, our versatile lineup is ready to ride with amazing deals to match. Visit your local dealer and find yours today. You can check out the full lineup at Toyota.com and stop by your local Chicagoland Toyota dealership. Toyota, let's go places. Perfect time to become a CHGO diehard. Upgrade your fandom today. Get access to our exclusive written content, a free t-shirt, plenty of discounts on future merch and events, plus access to our CHGO Discord lounge where we all hang out, talk Chicago sports, complain about the umpires, and more. Go to allchgo.com for the latest information on how you can join the thousands of CHGO diehards already in our community. We can't wait to connect with you on a greater level.
Summer is here. Is your home's air conditioning up for the challenge, though, Luke Stuckmeyer? Well, Four Seasons Heating, Air Conditioning, Plumbing, and Electric have been serving Chicagoland for over 50 years. Now's the time to get your air conditioning checked out, and Four Seasons experts are ready to help you with AC installation, maintenance, and repair. 2024 was officially Chicago's hottest year on record. The heat index even reached 114 degrees last summer at O'Hare. Just because you have to sweat out the Cubs game today, well, wasn't much of a sweat, but more of an anger. If you got sweat from all your anger like I did today, doesn't mean you need to sweat in your home. Four Seasons expert technicians ensure you always receive reliable service. Save up to $4,000 on new comfort systems with Four Seasons new AC units from $39 a month and AC furnace combos from $57 a month. Call 866-4SEASONS. Your trusted local experts are Four Seasons Heating, Air Conditioning, Plumbing, and Electric. Visit fourseasonsheatingcooling.com for all their special offers and money-saving coupons. That's fourseasonsheatingcooling.com.
All right, we have to give some credit to Jack Flaherty in a 4-0 game. It's a guy we talked about a lot this offseason. We were looking at where the Cubs going to get a pitcher. It ended up being kind of Matthew Boyd was the guy, and then Colin Ray. And then we got Flexen down the line later than that. But, and not that the Cubs made bad decisions. A lot of those guys have really worked out well. Flaherty's the guy that would have taken you next level. It wasn't a huge contract. And, boy, he's loving being back in Detroit. Like, he loves it right now.
He's healthy, too. Like, he's healthy.
He's
and
finally healthy. He was a top prospect. He was really good for the Cardinals briefly, and then his arm just was a big problem. And, man, he looked dominant today. Dominant.
Yeah. Well, I think this isn't to take anything away from him. He plays on a pitcher-friendly ballpark,
oh, yeah,
in my opinion. And, the only thing that I'll say is that in that 4th inning, he walked Happ and Tucker back-to-back, then he struck out Seiya, then he gives up the hit to PCA, and then we just discussed how that all went down, and it kind of killed the momentum the Cubs had. He kind of rebounded. So, the Cubs were unable to find a way to use some of the things that were going against them and channel it into a positive. And Jack Flaherty is a big part of why that happened.
There is a negative trend I do want to point out with the Cubs. They are having a hard time beating good pitching. They've been beat by a lot of good pitchers this year, and they've struggled to make those competitive games. That is the only negative I've seen.
Explain to me, like, what's the stat?
Yamamoto has owned them a couple times. We've seen they did beat Skeens, but he's played well against them. Gore had their number. Flaherty had their number. Skubal destroyed them on Friday. There's a trend here, and those are the types of pitchers you're going to see in big games.
Sure.
So I am a little concerned with the lack of offensive output against all-star caliber starting pitching. Not overly concerned about it, but I'm a little concerned about it.
Well, it's why I didn't have a problem with the send where Nico was
exactly,
or where Happ was thrown out at the plate, because yesterday you hit the 5 home runs and you're getting basically an ace, a second ace on the team pitching today in this game, and you're in this big ballpark, as you said, Cody. There aren't too many times you're going to hit 5 home runs 2 days in a row. So coming in, you've got an ace type pitcher. You've got a big ballpark. You hit 5 homers yesterday. Odds of it happening again, not great, even though you're the best offense in baseball. So that's why I'm willing to go ahead and try and push things over at third base and make the play at the plate. It didn't end up working out. The bottom line is, in this series, we went into it, and you said, Cody, on Thursday or Wednesday when we were doing our show, I think, we said, to be perfectly honest with you, knowing Skubal's pitching on Friday against Ben Brown, I would take 1 out of 3 wins. If you lose 2 out of 3, and this is the first. The Cubs had won 8 straight series, right?
7.
This would have been 8, right?
7.
So this snaps their streak of 7 straight series wins. Do I feel terrible about it? No, the Tigers have the best record in baseball, and you just went against their 2 aces without any of your aces. And so when I look at the series in general, Cade Horton's pitching performance of the 3 was probably the bottom of the 3. Okay? It still was pretty good against the Tigers' offense. Is pretty good. Like, they still only gave up 4 runs.
Yeah.
And I don't think they were actually hitting around Cade Horton today. But when you zoom out and you look at the series, the Cubs got outplayed by a couple of mistakes on Friday against the best pitcher in baseball and the best team in baseball on the road, okay? That happens, but it was a good game, it was an exciting game, and you had a bad send.
An electric defense, too. They played out of their minds defensively on Friday.
To go off what you're saying, they did as good as they possibly could have against a guy named Tarik Skubal, all right? He won Cy Young last year. He's been one of the best pitchers in baseball. Not even one of. He is the best pitcher in baseball. They did as well as they could have off him on Friday.
Ben Brown went toe-to-toe with him.
He did, yes. So this is more about like what you're saying about how they haven't done well against good pitching. Well, are we taking away what they did in April against some of the best teams in the league? Like they hit off Corbin Burns, who now has to have Tommy John. They hit off Zach Gallen, who going into the year we all thought was still good. Apparently he's in bottom tier of ERA right now. So I don't know. Like, are we not counting that anymore as good pitchers?
Those are definitely like good examples. I just
Tyler
think
Glass now
when I look at
in LA, I'm pretty sure that's the Sunday night game that Pete had 2 homers off of.
When I look at the upper echelon of guys they've faced, I just would like to see a little bit more offensive production for the team that you have and the offensive production you put up over the course of the calendar year. There has not been enough against aces.
Well, they've also been playing a bunch of bad teams.
Correct. Yeah. So that's what, when you come up and you play these types of pitchers, you're not expecting to put up 10 runs. Counsell said on the pregame show, he goes, listen, we're probably not going to score a lot of runs tonight, so we know we're going to have to grind it out and try to. And they did. They played as well as they could have on Friday. I just don't. I'm not overly concerned about where they are. It's just when they're going up against these hot pitchers without their aces, I do expect their offense to carry a little bit more weight more consistently, not going from 5 home runs in one game to just
to 0.
Absolutely looking disinterested at the plate today.
That's a lot like the 2024 Cubs.
Because they looked not interested at the plate today. I mean, it was some horrible at-bats, horrible strikeouts. No hits with guys. I mean, it was a tough, and that's where you give credit to Flaherty, who matched Yamamoto's season high against the Cubs, 9 strikeouts from a starter. Cubs have not had a lot of games of high octane or high strikeout numbers, so this is it's on the, what am I trying to say? It's an outlier.
Yeah, right? But I just tip my cap to him. Detroit played a better series than the Cubs did. The Cubs had 2 young pitchers give pretty good pitching performances against 2 studs on Detroit, like flat out studs. And to me, yesterday was a great example of what this Cubs team is really about. When they face adversity, they usually kick back in the teeth, right? Like, they kick back in the teeth. They played that game Friday. They got outplayed on just a few places, and you're like, wow, that was a really fun regular season baseball game, good energy. I love Pete Crow-Armstrong's answer after the game being like, well, yeah, it was a lot of hype, but we play at Wrigley Field every day. It's not like we don't feel energy. Kind of like, all right, settle down, Detroit.
Yeah.
And then the next day, the Cubs come back and punch him in the face with 5 home runs, and that's the only game that was dominated in the series.
Yeah.
The other 2 games were close games, despite the fact that the Cubs didn't hit at all on Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
They were still in. They still only lost 4-0.
Yeah.
And the umpire, as we know, was brutal. So it could have been closer than that. Overall, I think a good series. And Taillon was spectacular.
The inning I was talking about in the first segment about a situation where they could have scored some runs and they didn't. 7th inning. It's the inning where Baez robbed Carson Kelly on the lineout.
Yeah.
Right? That's how the inning started.
Another great play from Baez this series.
And then Bush and Swanson had back-to-back singles. And, of course, Vidal Brujan, who's in because Nico got thrown out, doesn't come through. He flies out to right. And then Shaw lined out to right. So they had 2 guys on with less than 2 outs, and they couldn't cash in. So that was just another example of the offense struggling today. But in general, with what Luke's saying about the series, Ben Brown shoved on Friday.
It was awesome on Friday.
I really wish I could have retweeted all of the people who told me that this guy should be in the bullpen a week and a half ago after he got shelled, I believe, by the Marlins. I don't remember. It was like two starts ago. I really wanted him to outduel Tarik Skubal, and he gave every possible bit of effort that he could have. And
it's the best start of his career.
It was one of the best starts of his career.
I think it was
probably
his
his best start of this season for sure. Hard to beat out 7 no-hit innings against the Brewers last year, but yeah, he showed again why I am such a believer in him on Friday. And the Cubs had a chance. Like PCA almost hit a homer off Skubal in his first at bat. All right. That goes into some of the breaks not going your way.
Was Seiya the one to the wall?
Yeah. Yes, and that was in the 8th
it
inning.
looked like it was going to hit the top of the wall, but that was a nice catch.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. And I don't know if PCA would have hit a homer, but that was still a great catch. If he doesn't catch it, the Cubs have runners on base that inning. They score some runs. That's why I said earlier that the Cubs offense played as well as they could have, in my opinion, against a guy like Tarik Skubal on Friday. The Tigers defense just really showed up, and they deserve a lot of credit. So to me, the Friday loss, what hurts the most is the base running blunder at third base between Quintin Berry, the miscommunication it looks like, based off the replay that I keep watching.
Berry took his eyes off of PCA.
Yeah. It seems like there was miscommunication there or something. Whatever. I already said my whole piece about base running, the Cubs base running this season overall. So, I'm not going to repeat that. But that, to me, that's where I felt like they lost the game. Because in a game going up against the Tarik Skubal, you got to cash in when you got the opportunities.
No doubt.
And you can't shoot yourself in the foot. And that was the one moment in the game I felt like where the Cubs really shot themselves in the foot. I can't fault guys for hitting balls hard and then the other team making great defensive plays. I can't fault players for that, So
the Tigers played a cleaner series than the Cubs did.
They did, yeah.
Mm-hmm. And just a few plays, but the few plays made the difference in 2 really good teams. They went into the Friday matchup. It was the best in the National League against the best in the American League. And it did feel sort of like postseason baseball. Yeah. I thought the way the Tigers reacted sort of after the game was like they thought they won the World Series. And that's why I loved Saturday's response from the Cubs from the offense. And today the offense, like Kevin said, that might have been their worst offensive game of the season.
I think it was by a wide margin.
And I give Flaherty 80% of that, though. I really do. He looked really good.
Yeah, he was dealing today. Flaherty was good.
I think if I were to go back and rank like the worst offensive showings from the Cubs this year, this one would probably be up there. Like,
at least it was against a good pitcher.
They struck out 12 times.
What's more frustrating? Answer this question. What's more frustrating? This game or the 3-1 loss they had to the Marlins at Wrigley Field back in May?
Yes.
Again, going up against a guy that's not named Jack Flaherty and is not Sandy Alcantara in his prime and is not Ryan. I think it was the game Ryan Weathers pitched. Like, what's more frustrating to you? Like, they've had a few of those too. And sometimes baseball is just baseball. I don't know. They're the balance between trying to figure out what is their worst offensive performance. If you were to rank the top 5, I'd agree with you on this game being in there. But I think they've also had some frustrating games against pitchers that you're like, we should have done better against this team. Or why didn't we take more advantage when we got the starter out of the game against their bullpen that's not good, But I really do just think that's baseball at the end of the day.
We'll look more at it in a second. Plus, we got your super chats coming up. But first, a word from our sponsors. If you've ever tried to buy a home, get a loan, or just deal with money stuff in general, it can be a lot. That's why we have to tell you about the Rate app. It's seriously a game changer. You can get pre-approved for a mortgage in minutes without the need to jump through a million hoops. And if you're thinking about a home equity loan or a personal loan, you can secure one of those in under 15 days. The whole thing is powered by AI, so it's smart and it saves you time and money. And here's the unexpected bonus. They've added over 800 free wellness videos, stuff like meditation, breathing exercises, stretching, basically tools to help you feel better mentally and physically. So if you're stressed out about a loan or a mortgage, seriously, just let the Rate app handle it. Once that's covered, you can go hit one of those free wellness videos and just chill out. Download the Rate app today to get started, and we have a ticket giveaway with them right now. Enter Rate's CHGO Summertime Sweepstakes. The Rate and CHGO hooking you up with some sweet deals on baseball tickets. Score 2 Rate Club tickets, Cubs, Sox, Crosstown on the 26th of July. That's all food and drinks included. Download the Rate app. Visit allchgo.com/rate for sign up today. That's allchgo.com/rate today. No purchase necessary.
I know who could use some right-on optics. The umpiring crew. New York City could use some right-on optics. No matter what the outdoor activities you prefer, it's always important you have the best view. Right-on Optics offers a full range of optics products so you can clearly see what's going on. Everyone can use a good pair of binoculars. Better views at your kid's sporting event, spotting birds, wildlife, when you go on a vacation, even bring it to the stadium if you are stuck in the cheap seats. Right-On offers higher performance at a lower price, the perfect balance of performance and value. It won't break the bank. Right-On Optics has been around for over a decade. Every product receives a full quality control inspection. The Right-On Promise Unlimited Lifetime Warranty not only covers defects, but also accidental damage from drops. Get a better look at everything. What you do, what you want to look at, or what can be better to look at. Quality products that you know and that you can trust. Check out the full line of Right-On products today at rightonoptics.com/CHGO. That's RITON optics.com/CHGO.
Cubs lost 4-0. They lose 2 out of 3 to the Tigers. That is their first series loss, snapping a streak of 7 straight series wins for the Cubs. But now they are catching some other teams maybe at the right time. We got the Phillies coming up. We're going to talk about that.
Did we see what Craig Counsell said post-game? We got to play this.
I heard Sarah playing it. I've seen some of the quotes.
We got to play
Do you have
this.
it, Sarah? Oh, awesome. All right. This is Craig Counsell after the game today.
From Marquee.
Via Marquee, of course.
Marquee.
Our friends at Marquee.
The ejection of Nico was completely unwarranted, and there's nothing that was said that warrants an ejection. And you can't eject players and affect outcomes of games for no offense. Yeah, he didn't like what Nico said, but it's it just Nico's walking by. What he said is not. It's not ejectable, and you don't just eject players and change lineups and things like that.
He's absolutely right. You cannot eject players and change outcomes of games based on how you feel about how guys have been arguing calls and yelling at you during a game. That's unprofessional. Unprofessional.
And it's the player that's doing it. If it's a guy who's barking at you every time you see him, or has a reputation of being a whiner or something like that, right? Like,
yeah.
Or he's done it 5 times in the last game at you. But this is like one of the most stand-up players. I saw in the live YouTube chat here at the CHGO Cubs YouTube channel, which you should subscribe to today. Somebody said that Nico said, all I said to him was, "You're having a bad day,"
and he wasn't wrong. He wasn't wrong.
That is not an eject.
No. And he didn't swear at him. He didn't throw his helmet.
No.
He didn't throw his bat.
He didn't show him up in any way, shape, or form.
Yeah. Just a ridiculous, unprofessional toss out of a game.
Yeah.
Can't have that. You can't have that if especially when you're trying to vie for You want to fight back against fans calling for, not having electronic umpiring and all these AI systems that are going to be implemented, then do your job better.
Then what are the repercussions
do your job
for it?
better.
What are the repercussions for it? Like, even if he accepts afterwards, he goes home and he's like, well, I screwed that up and I threw him out, but I don't like the Cubs. Right. Seriously, what? The guy's not going to get suspended. No. He's not going to get fined.
No, he'll just get yelled at on social media by fans, and nothing will happen. Right, exactly.
Yeah, we do that.
That's what we're doing right now. Yeah,
we get yelled at. We get yelled at by fans.
Yeah. Our pal David Kaplan tweeted something similar to like what you're saying. Like, there's no accountability for umpires, and
that's why I want the robots and the droids, all of them. I don't even want the system. I want the full-on droids.
I don't know what you can even do to hold these guys accountable. Like, it's like when the NBA comes out after a bad call, like the next day the NBA puts out a statement saying that, like, oh yeah, this call was wrong. It's like, I don't want to hear that. Like, and MLB will probably have one of those moments too at some point when it comes to a certain play.
How about you get graded after every game, and if you start grading below 70%, you're down in the minors, just like a baseball player.
Yeah. When what I said about Doug Eddings in his game yesterday, the umpire card that came out today, it wasn't wrong either. Like, he was, what was it? The card said 80% called strike accuracy.
That's not good enough.
It's not good, man.
That's not good enough.
It's not good.
I hate that.
So I'm looking forward to seeing this guy's tomorrow.
I hate being the blame umpires guy. I really do. I think it's.
We're not blaming the umpire.
No. We're not blaming them for the whole game. We're just saying they were terrible this weekend.
I hate making that the source of the topic, but we have to.
Yeah.
Because that's what they were this series. They were horrible. I hate being the guy, like, I don't want to be the rah-rah, screw the umpires guy. But when it's warranted in this fashion, it's warranted. Yeah. Period. You just heard the manager of the Cubs, who's been around Major League Baseball for decades, who has never been afraid to speak his mind, but he's never been a blame the umpires guy either. And you just heard him say straight up, that cannot happen in our game. We cannot have guys getting tossed out and you changing the whole outcome of a really fun marquee series for Major League Baseball, the two of the best teams, and you're going to toss a guy out for saying one sentence to you, didn't swear, didn't throw his bat, wasn't barking at you, just turned around and said, hey, man, you're having a bad day. Forget that, man. That is ridiculous.
Soft.
It's soft. I mean, just when you put the video together with what Craig Counsell said, like, when you watch how Nico Hoerner got ejected, soft is the only way to explain it, dude. The only way.
And we don't disagree, Rhonda. You can't strike out 12 times and expect to win.
That's true. Yeah.
That's here's the thing. Both can be true.
Yes.
Both can be true. You can't strike out 12 times and expect to win. And you also can't eject a guy for saying absolutely nothing after you missed a call at home plate earlier in the game.
Yeah. And him, I don't know what's more frustrating, him striking Nico out on a pitch that wasn't a strike, or the fact that because you ejected him, Vidal Brujan was in his spot with Bush and Swanson on base in the 7th inning. We all know that Nico Hoerner wasn't going to come out of the game. You know what I mean?
No, you mean the Nico who has the best runners in scoring position batting average?
One of.
Right? Yeah, like, yeah. Okay. So one of the most clutch hitters in baseball we removed from the game because he said, umpire, you're having a bad game.
Right.
Okay.
It's a joke, dude.
That's a problem.
It's a joke.
It is a problem. You got it. You know what? You tip your cap on Friday to the Tigers. You get a good game win on Saturday. Sunday, this one it's a bad game, but yeah, I mean, it's
nice about
inexcusable. They got to find a way to do something with these. Something's got to be done.
What's nice about Saturday is I think I can make an argument that Doug Eddings was worse than this guy today, but you hit 5 homers, your offense.
Yeah, that changes it.
Despite that, and so that's why we're not sitting here blaming the umpires for losing the series. We're just being honest and saying that something's got to be done, and we'll continue to do this because nothing's going to be done other than ABS coming next year. But you still can't get this instant replay right with New York, with the guys in New York, and these guys, these umpires, like, listen, it's a tough job, but you cannot be that soft, dude. You cannot just what is dictating the game more? I can't figure out how you're dictating the game more. Ejecting Nico Hoerner in that moment, or ringing him up on strikes on a pitch that was not even a strike.
Yeah.
Yes.
The answer is yes.
Yes.
And that's the problem. That is always the problem when I go on these rants about umpires. You are dictating the game. It's another way of just saying you're making the game about yourself, and it shouldn't be. Like one of you just said it. It was a marquee series this weekend, and instead of talking about how great of a series it was and how the Cubs maybe measure up against the Tigers in October, if we get to that point against the Tigers, which would be insane to say right now. But like, instead of talking about that, we started this post-game show talking about how these stupid umpires can't do their jobs, man.
And I want to point out for the people who are going to complain about that, I want to point out for the fact that that was the storyline of today's game. That's why we let off with that. Yeah. I'm not going to lead off with talking about what may happen in October. We could have, you're right. But the storyline of the game was you didn't hit enough. Flaherty was great, and the umpire dictated. Have we read the Super Chats yet?
No, I was going to do. Can we do the Toyota Super Chats, Sarah? We have Ramon 1987 saying, loved Counsell standing up for his players. Mm-hmm. And Steven, who's always hitting us with the Super Chats for $5, saying, I was at the game. These effing umps ruined the game today. 0 offense, and Horton was shaky. Also, Quintin Berry can screw himself.
Oh, man. Poor Quintin Berry.
Steven's a very passionate fan, man.
See, unlike Nico Hoerner, Steven got his money's worth.
He got his money's worth.
Steven got his money's worth with that Super Chat.
Like I said about Quintin Berry, man, I think the Cubs base running coaches or base coaches this year have been significantly better than what they were last year. The Cubs aren't getting thrown out on the bases nearly as much. Was it a bad weekend? Was Friday a reason why you lost the game? Absolutely. I think we all just sat here earlier and said that it was probably the right move to send Happ.
Yeah.
So, like, I hear you, Steven. It was a frustrating day. I sat here and I've done a few rants, right? So I hear you, but I think Quintin Berry is fine at third base as the third base coach.
Yeah, I mean, Friday was a mistake.
Now,
Mistakes happen,
if this
man.
like keeps going, if we see more of this over the next month and a half or so going in the All-Star break, it's like, okay, maybe it's worth having a conversation, but we've given them a lot of credit for their base running this year. And I think the coaches at third and first base have been a big part of that. So when a play like Friday happens or Happ being thrown out at home today, when that happens, people magnify that moment. But no one magnifies, sending this guy and they score easily or whatever on a moment, or that, the Cubs are scoring runs, so.
Isn't baseball a funny sport, though? Like, when you look at yesterday's game to today's game, 12 strikeouts versus 5 home runs. Yesterday, Seiya hits 2 home runs. Today, he strikes out 3 times. Mm-hmm. Like, a pitcher can make such a huge difference, and that's one of the reasons why we're all saying, man, they still could use another frontline starter. They could use a frontline starter with Steele out when they head to the postseason, because it can make all the difference. You got that great pitching performance out of Ben Brown, and I'm not sure where I rank things that I liked the most out of the series. I guess I'd put 5 home runs as number 1. But then is it Ben Brown, or is it Taillon, or is it my guy Flexen, who, still hasn't given up a run? I mean, I would honestly, I'd probably go 5 home runs in the response. Then I think I'd go Ben Brown.
Me too. Yeah.
Going toe-to-toe with Skubal. And then I think I'd go Taillon third. Taillon was... What did we look up? Like, what did we look up? Like 8 out of 9 quality starts, 7 out of 8.
Yep.
I don't know what else you want from him.
Yeah, Taillon, and
he's supposed to be your number 3 or number 4 starter.
It was Taillon and Matthew Boyd, who lead the team in quality starts. Both have 9, and you're going to see Matthew Boyd for the opener against the Phillies tomorrow.
I've been a big proponent of Jameson Taillon. I know I said on a recent show something around the lines of like that I don't necessarily know if I trust him in October. But if he's like your 4th starter in October, I can live with that. I think that they need, as we've talked about, they need another top of the line starter. If you got Shota, Boyd, Taillon, and enter name, I'm great. Especially if you have Horton and Brown as your relievers in October, high leverage with the kind of stuff that they have. That can be dangerous. That can be something for you in October, right? So yeah, that's the way that I mostly view it. But
not to take your not to speak for you or take your quote out of context, but I think what you're trying to say is you like Taillon a lot, but you're the Cubs and you have the money to do better. So let's upgrade. Let's make a strength a bigger strength. Is that what you're trying to like? And Taillon is good, but like in a playoff series, you can do even better than that.
Yeah.
All right, I want to know your 3 stars in the live YouTube chat here, and we're going to look ahead at this series with the Phillies coming up in a second. But first, a word from our great sponsors here at CHGO.
Whole body deodorant Mando. It's safe to use anywhere on your body. Pits, balls, thighs, thigh folds, belly buttons, butt cracks, and feet. Choose from a variety of fresh scents like bourbon leather, clover woods, Mount Fuji, or Pro Sport. Clinically proven to control odor better than a shower with soap alone. 12 hours after a shower, the average man's grundle odor level was a 5 out of 10. With Mando, the average grundle odor level is a 0 out of 10. Mando's starter pack is perfect for new customers. It comes with a solid stick deodorant, cream 2 deodorant, 2 free products of your choice, and free shipping. Luke Stuckmeyer as a special offer for listeners. New customers get $5 off a starter pack with our exclusive code that equates to over 40% off your starter pack. Use code CHGO at shopmando.com, SHOPMANDO.com. Please support our show and tell them we sent you. Smell fresher, stay drier, and boost your confidence from head to toe with Mando. Send it to the umpires.
You know that umpire, or that moment when you realize you left your favorite sunglasses at the beach or on the roof of your car or at the gas station? Well, I've been there. And then I found Shady Rays. It changed the game. Sunglasses that are made for life. Seriously good-looking, polarized, durable, and not crazy expensive. Here's the wild part. If you lose or break them, even on day one, Shady Rays will send you a brand new pair. No guilt trip, just replacements. So now I actually wear my sunglasses without fear on hikes, in a boat, at concerts, wherever, whenever. Shady Rays is eyewear that has your back. We've teamed up with Shady Rays to bring you your exclusive offer here. Head to shadyrays.com and use the code CHGO for 35% off polarized sunglasses. Try for yourself the shades rated 5 stars by more than 300,000 people. Cubs lose 4-0 in Detroit was the score. Cubs lose 2 out of 3 to the Tigers. Close game on Friday, close game on Sunday. Cubs blowout win with the 5 home runs in the middle. We have another super chat here, Toyota super chat, one from KM for $5. Any comments on changing lineup a bit to improve hits with runners in scoring position? We were talking about that coming on the show a little bit, weren't we? Or at the end of the watch along that we were doing. Would you adjust the top of the lineup at all a little bit if Happ is in one of his – it's just one of his slumps. That's what happens with Ian Happ. He just gets in slumps. So would you change the top of the lineup? We flirted with some ideas earlier this season with it.
First off, I don't think Ian Happ is slumping.
I don't either. He's not hot.
Right. And that's fine. He walked today. He got on base. He did his job.
I wouldn't adjust it. But are there ways to adjust it? Sure. Tucker leading off could be a thing you could try one time. Nico's always a guy you could put. We've had PCA up there this season.
I think everyone understands how I feel about leadoff. So let's just go somewhere in the middle of the lineup. Why is Carson Kelly hitting 5th? Like, he's not Barry Bonds anymore. It was a fun run. He had a great April. We're now June 7th, June 8th. He's hitting like 260, dude. Like,
his last month has been abysmal.
It hasn't been good enough.
Like,
it hasn't
below
been good enough to put him 3rd, 4th, 5th on the lineup. You know, like, to me, Michael Busch should be hitting above him. Now, I understand in some way why they're doing it, because Craig and I think the front office kind of agree on this. They'd rather go lefty, righty in the lineup outside of Happ and Tucker, who are both lefties. Well, Happ can be righty if you're facing a lefty, right? Because he's a switch hitter. But lefty, righty, or lefty, righty, lefty. You know, like that's what they would prefer to do. And that's what they've been doing in the lineup. So I guess that's why Kelly's there, but he hasn't been producing enough to warrant even being ahead of Michael Busch in the lineup.
That's what Cam's saying.
People in the chat for the last, however long have been like, why are we not playing Michael Busch every day? Why are we not putting Michael Busch higher in the lineup right now? That's my question. So, to me, it would be Michael Busch moving up in this lineup with how he's hit the last week. They need to move Kelly back down in that 7, 8, 9 spot.
What would be the benefit of moving Suzuki down to 6, I'm asking? Now, I guess it depends on which Suzuki are you talking about. The Suzuki that hit 2 homers and has 16 on the season, or the one that struck out 3 times today? I know today was bad, but let's not forget the season that Seiya's having.
Yeah, Seiya should. If Shohei Ohtani wasn't the DH for the National League, Seiya Suzuki has made a great argument to start the All-Star game.
Yeah.
So, like, Seiya's staying in the 3 hole for me. Or sometimes Craig will move him. Yeah. Sometimes Craig moves him to 2 if they face a lefty. He wasn't great today, but if you look at his splits against lefties versus righties, it's like, I wouldn't say it's night and day, but it's significantly better against left-handed pitching than it is right-handed pitching. But as I've said before, his season has been the season that it's been because Kyle Tucker is in front of him in the lineup. Just had a bad day today. But he is a big reason why they won a game in the series, you know?
Yeah.
To me, it's all about they need to move Carson Kelly down a little bit. You're missing Miguel Amaya in a big way offensively right now because at least even though Carson Kelly was killing it in April, Miguel Amaya was consistent for that entire time that Carson Kelly was going on that Linsanity run, you know what I mean? And I to me, it's really that simple. Like, I would rather have Busch in that 4-5 hole. PCA's kind of settled in that 4 hole, and he's delivered in those RBI spots. So I don't mind him being there. I like the top 3 the way that they are. Busch needs to be up higher though with the way he's hitting right now. Nico, Swanson, you can flip flop however you want the lineup depending on who you're facing that day, and then 8, 9, the catcher and Matt Shaw.
I understand we got to talk about lineup and hypotheticals of what could be changed. I'm just here to say, Ian Happ is not getting moved out of the leadoff role, guys. He's not getting moved out of the leadoff role. The Cubs still have more runs batted in than any other team in baseball. The lineup is fine. You faced a hot pitcher today. You didn't score some runs. I get that we have to talk and think about what could be or what could be moved up, but Ian Happ is your leadoff hitter. Point blank, period. Ian Happ is going to be your leadoff hitter. Even when Pete was on that insane run, he still is hitting good. You know, Jed and Carter said, hey, we have another good option in Pete to maybe be our leadoff hitter if Happ is scratched for some reason. They literally said, Pete, we have 2 good options to bat leadoff. So the only other guy they're really considering for that role is Pete. That is Carter Hawkins and Jed Hoyer saying that, not me. So if there were to be a change where Ian Happ's not playing, Pete's probably your leadoff hitter. I agree, Cody. Carson Kelly has 11 hits in a month. Yeah. He's got 11 hits in a month, and his WRC plus in this last month is like below 70. Yeah. And I think, enough, man. Enough in the 5 hole. Move him down because he's not hitting anymore. And any Tigers fan watching this game today could have told you that his April and May was a complete outlier of what he is as a career hitter. He's not a good hitter. He's not. His career is showing.
Yeah, last year he was like a 99 WRC plus, which is good for catchers.
He's fine.
But is it warrant him hitting 5th? Or there's been some days where he's hitting 3rd or 4th. You know what I mean? And I get the wanting a righty then a lefty type situation, but dude, there's a reason Reese McGuire's been hitting 9th when they play him.
Yes.
There's a reason. All right. They're not changing things up for him. So I just think Carson Kelly needs to be moved back down. Doesn't mean he can't get hot again. Doesn't mean he can't turn into Barry Bonds again. I think the guy's been a great addition for this team. This is not slander to Carson Kelly. This team would not have as many wins as they do without Carson Kelly, okay? But he has not hit the way that he was hitting, and he shouldn't be hitting anywhere between the 3 and 5 spot in the lineup.
Just because he was a great signing who's had a great start to the season doesn't mean he needs to be hitting 5th. Fair? Yeah. Okay, some news and notes from today in case you missed it during the game. Shota is still trying to make his rehab. They said mid-June, so we're getting closer and closer. Mm-hmm. Today's what, the 8th? Shota's going to pitch 2 innings as the start of his rehab in Arizona coming up on Tuesday as he tries to come back from that hamstring strain.
There we go. That's great news.
That's good news, pushing in the right direction. Porter Hodge, you saw him sitting in the dugout today with the Cubs in Detroit. He threw a bullpen yesterday. Word was that was good. And did you see that while we have talked about the Cubs bullpen a lot this year, some bad and then all of a sudden great, the Mets signed Julian Merriweather this weekend to a minor league deal.
So they basically flip-flopped Genesis Cabrera.
Yeah,
That's right.
And
It's almost like a
Merriweather.
trade.
Yeah.
Both teams thinking, well, why not try and take a flyer on this guy?
Yeah.
And the Mets don't necessarily have some massive bullpen problems, I'm pretty sure.
Well, I would have loved to. In a perfect world, would I have loved Merriweather just hanging in the Cubs farm system for a while? Sure. But that's not the way it worked out. So now you got Cabrera hanging around.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, the Cubs have had to make some tough decisions in terms of calling guys up and DFAing guys because their bullpen has been outstanding the last 6 weeks. It's been outstanding. You've been getting great performances across the board, so much so that Merriweather was the only guy really struggling, so you had to get rid of him. And Tyson Miller, you just had to say goodbye to.
Yeah.
So,
and I was hoping he'd come up and have an impact this year.
That's a happy problem to have. You know, another a guy who can throw high velocity, and Cabrera we'll see what he does, but you know, he's not guaranteed to be on this team. This is a flyer, and he's been okay. You know, he hasn't been awesome. He's been fine in the couple outings he's had. So, I'm interested if Merriweather gets some. You know, we know how bullpens are, right? Like Merriweather might. Playing for a high-caliber team, a team that's topped the National League and a lot of things, he might get out there and he might have a couple good games, you know, and that could happen. That's baseball. These bullpens, man, it's so hard to figure out. Some guys just fit other situations better than others. I mean, that's the best thing. That's the best analysis I can give you on bullpens because they change so much.
We've only got 4 minutes left. We got the Phillies coming up and then the Pirates back at Wrigley Field. But first, the Phillies, who have been on a rough run right now. No Bryce Harper. Are we catching the Phillies at the right time?
Go ahead, Kevin.
I don't know if we're catching them at the right time because you're going to get Zach Wheeler tomorrow and then you're getting Luzardo in Game 3.
Speaking of good pitchers that you said they haven't done well against.
And they're going to need to, this is, what do I always say? It's like my golden rule on this show. You're playing a nationally contending team. You have to make these games count. You have to win them. You have to win the tiebreakers because these games matter when you get down to it in September and October when you're in a pennant race. God forbid the Cubs have a bad month and the Cardinals or Brewers catch up to them and then the Cubs find themselves in a wild card. I don't know if that's going to happen. It's still on the table. I don't want to say it's going to happen. But that's why this series matters a lot. The Phillies have been struggling, but Jesus Luzardo has not been struggling. Zach Wheeler has not been struggling. Those two have been electric this year. They've been
Schwarber
awesome.
has not been.
Luzardo's been bad his last 2 starts, but in general, yeah.
He's overall.
He's had a good season.
But they've been really bad.
He's been a top 10 pitcher in baseball this year.
You're not wrong about that. I'm just saying right now, the last 2 starts, not just 1 start, last 2 starts, awful.
So maybe they are then. Maybe they are getting him at a good time.
They've lost 7 of 8, including getting swept by the Pirates and the Brewers. So I would like to keep this NL Central roll or trend going against the Phillies. Listen, the Cubs lost the series against the Phillies in April. All right, it's time for the Cubs to get one back, and they should be pissed off after today. So I'm looking for this Cubs offense to get it going tomorrow. I don't care who's on the mound. I don't care who's coming in. They lost Alvarado Alvarado. They lost him because he took some steroids, whatever. They're awesome, but can't do them anymore.
I just finished mine yesterday.
Right. So and you don't have to. I don't think Bryce Harper is going to be back for this series.
No, he was put on the IL yesterday.
Okay,
retroactive to June 6th, so he's out for the series.
He's out
with a wrist injury, not the elbow. I don't know what he did.
I know Schwarber is Schwarber, and me and Luke have said enough about how we feel about Kyle Schwarber, so I won't go into it. But you got a good. To me, I look at it as an opportunity. I'm not scared of anyone. You just went in Detroit and you had every chance to win this series. I'm not afraid of anyone. I'm not afraid of anyone that they have to play. All right? They've won series against the Dodgers. They've won series against the Padres. They've won series against other teams in baseball that are considered good or are trying to make the playoffs. They beat up on a bunch of bad teams won 16 of 21 against teams that they should go 16 and 20 or win 16 out of 21 against. All right. Now the schedule is heating up again. You got to keep going, man. You just got to, and you gotta rebound after this series. So I feel like the Cubs are getting the Phillies at the right time, personally, and it's largely just because if you don't have Bryce Harper, your team's not as good, and also, like, they're not scoring runs, man. Like, it gets the Pirates this weekend. The Pirates scored 4, or the Phillies scored 4, 1-1. They've scored 2 runs their last 9 innings. All right.
So go
well
get
for
them.
you.
Series winning streak ends at 7 straight series wins for the Cubs. The Tigers take 2 out of 3 and a 4-0 dud for the Cubs in Detroit today. Thanks to everybody who joined us, by the way, for the live YouTube chat, the new CHGO Cubs YouTube channel. We appreciate joining us for the watch along, the post game show, all of that stuff. We appreciate you. We'll see you after the game tomorrow as well for a full hour post game show. Until then, thanks for checking out the CHGO Cubs podcast. We'll see you tomorrow, and don't forget, fly the W.
We all silly like the mayor.